Welcome back, besties. Are you as eager to hear what happens with Abby and Jason? I am having so much fun bringing these stories to you, but I need a little bit more encouragement. So please like, share, and subscribe. I returned to work on Monday and Mrs. Williams apologized for trying to set me up with Jason. I told her that it was okay, but made sure she understood that I wasn't interested in her trying again. For the rest of that week, I walked around like a zombie. I did my job, but my thoughts were elsewhere. I couldn't stop thinking about what Jason said. He said that he wasn't going anywhere. I didn't know if I could trust him. When Friday came along, I couldn't eat at lunch and I was jumpy. I picked up Hope and tried to calm down. Jason texted that he was on his way. I didn't know how I was going to feel with him in my house. I was afraid to be alone with him. He arrived at 6 p.m. I was tempted to pretend that I wasn't home, but Hope started screaming loudly. I was sure people next door could hear her. I opened the door, and he walked in carrying his overnight case. I closed the door slowly, stalling. I turned to find him staring at me. "You're looking well," he said. I nodded and brushed past him to scoop Hope out of the playpen. She was whimpering and stopped as soon as I picked her up. Jason made himself at home by taking his case up to the guest room. When he came back down, I was in the kitchen. I was warming up dinner. I'd decided that I was going to be civil. It was more than he and his mother showed me. I was going to be the bigger person. I didn't ask him if he'd eaten. I set the table and asked him to sit to eat. Hope sat in her chair between us. Again, I acknowledged the resemblance between them. I thought about what he'd do if she didn't look like him, that he'd use it as an excuse to continue with his campaign to hurt me. That's what I thought. "Abby, are you going to continue giving me the silent treatment?" he asked. I looked at him and quickly looked away. I cleared my throat and took a deep breath. "I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know what to talk with you about." "I know why you left. Tell me how you did all of this," he said, waving his hand indicating the house. "What?" I asked. "You made this work without me or your father. I am awed by how strong you are, and I feel ashamed that you did this without me." "Well, it's not like I had a choice, Jason. As far as I knew, after I left, you continued with your plan to marry Naomi. I wasn't about to care if I hurt his feelings, and judging by his facial expression, I'd struck a nerve. Still, I didn't care. Hope slapped her little chubby hand on the table. Jason reached out to take her hand, and Hope clasped his hand and gave him an open-mouthed grin. "Why did you name her Hope?" Jason asked, changing the subject. "She gave me strength to keep going. Once I knew I was carrying a girl, I found the strength to do what I had to do." "Did you ever think about contacting me?" Jason asked in a small voice. "No." "Why? You had every right to demand support, everything. Why didn't you?" I felt my chest getting tight and tears welling up, but I forced them down. "I thought that if I approached you, you'd use your influence to take her from me. You have a nice home, money, all the things I didn't. I felt that you hated me enough to use your power to take her. Abby, I was horrible to you, but I'm not a monster. I wouldn't do that. The minute I found out about her, everything changed. I wanted to give her everything, and I wanted you to be there for her. I wish I could take back all the hurt and pain I caused you, but I can't. All I can do now is try to make it right. I can't do that without you." "I don't know if I can do that. I thought you were sincere before. I don't know how to believe you." "I can understand that. I am as transparent as I can be. Abby, I love you. I don't know how to convince you that this is real. I just hope that if I am present enough, you'll start believing it." After dinner, Jason took over caring for Hope while I cleared up in the kitchen. I kept an ear out for any signs that he was having trouble, but all I could hear was her squealing with joy. I hurried up and joined them in the living room. He was on the floor with her. He'd taken his shoes off and was sitting on the floor with her. Hope was standing on chubby legs in front of him, holding onto his knees to steady herself. I watched her let go, lose her balance, and land on her backside. She squealed in delight and held her arms up for him to lift her up again. They were playing and she was happy. I didn't know how to feel seeing them like this. Secretly, I dreamed of this. A complete family. Later, after we put her down for the night, I returned to the living room. I made tea and offered him some. I remembered that he would pour himself a drink and lock himself in his home office. His mother would make herself scarce and I was left alone. We sat facing each other, he on the couch and me on the single chair. Tell me what you want, Abby. Honestly? Yes, tell me. I want to know that you're going to be there for her, to provide for her. What about you? What do you want for yourself? When I was younger, I wanted the fairy tale wedding, an exotic honeymoon. I wanted a husband who was loving, and I wanted to feel loved. You can still have those things, Abby. I can make those things happen. I don't believe in those things anymore. You are deliberately making this harder. I know that you still have feelings for me, and I've already told you how much I love you. Why are you holding back? Jason got up and came to stand in front of me. I looked up at him and wished hard that I could believe him, but I was still afraid. How do I know that you aren't tricking me? How do I know that if I let you get close, that I wouldn't be playing into your plans? Jason reached down and pulled me into his arms. His arms wrapped around me and he just held me. Abby, please, I don't want to go on without you, without our family. Please give us a chance. I could feel the tremors in his chest. He was crying. What do I do? I pushed at him and he let go. I was scared, but I touched his face. I watched the tears stream down his cheeks and I kissed him, tentatively at first, then firmly. Jason acted like he'd just gotten oxygen and he had been deprived. He took over, kissing me like he'll never let me go. When we came apart, he clasped my hand and we walked up the stairs. At my bedroom door, he looked at me pleadingly. I can't, but can we just hold each other? He smiled at me. It was a different smile than before. So we held each other and slept. The following morning, the tension between us was less, and he helped with hope, and we talked some more. Who was that guy I was going to kill? I laughed, surprising myself. His name is Jason, and my boss tried to set me up with him at the Christmas party. When I saw him kiss you, I wanted to tear him apart. I'd never felt like that before. On the drive here that night, I thought about how I was going to approach you, but all thoughts went out the window when he touched you. All I could think was, she's mine. I don't think he'll ever talk to me again. Were you really going to break every bone in his body? I asked. Every single one. It had started to snow and Jason was leaving. We'd come to an understanding. He promised to continue to come visit, and we'd continue to repair us. My company is throwing a New Year's party. Come with me, he said at the door. When is it? This weekend. I'll come for you Friday, and Mother can babysit. He had that hopeful expression on his face. We discussed the possibility of his mother getting closer to Hope, but I didn't know if I was ready for that yet. Can you give me a few days to think about it? He kissed me clear down to my toes and smiled. I'll call you. The house felt empty without his presence. Even Hope felt it. I realized that I had let go of the hurt and was thinking of trying again. Jason called that night. We talked for hours. I knew then that I'd made up my mind. I started hurrying through the days as if that would make the week go faster. Thursday evening, we spoke as usual, and I even responded in kind when he said he loved me. I couldn't help it. God help me. I couldn't hide it any longer. He didn't say anything for a beat and asked if I was sure. I told him that I was, and we hung up. 3 hours later, he called again, waking me up out of sound sleep. Open the door, he said simply. I was fully awake then. I got out of bed and hurried down the stairs. With surprisingly steady hands, I unlocked the door to find him standing there. He wasn't dressed in his usual suits. He wore jeans. Before I could acknowledge that he was standing there, he was in, pulling me close. He held me so tight I almost couldn't breathe, but then I was holding him just as tightly. I barely had time to close the door behind me when he scooped me up and made for the stairs. When he put me down beside the bed, I stepped back a bit because I wanted to think clearly. My mind was imagining things and my heart beat double time. What are you doing here? I asked. I was afraid you'd change your mind. You said you loved me. I thought you were coming tomorrow, I said lamely. He looked at his watch and smiled. It is tomorrow. So, what now? I asked. I hated that I was baiting him, but I wanted assurance. Abby, I love you. I won't ever stop loving you. Right now, I want to make love with you, cherish you like you deserve. That did it for me. I stepped up to him and kissed him timidly. Thank God he figured out the rest. My head was on his chest. I listened to his heart beating. Neither of us were asleep. His hand caressed my shoulder gently and suddenly tightened. Marry me, he said. I raised my head to stare at him. We are married, I told him, matter-of-factly. We stood before a judge. I want you to have the fairy tale wedding at a church with bridesmaids and flower girls, even though you said that you'd outgrown it. I want us to go on the honeymoon of your dreams. I want you to have all the things you didn't get before. I couldn't speak. He reached out to wipe the tears staining my cheeks. Really? Just tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. Can we just get through your company's party first? He sat up then, pulling me up to join him. He answered every question I had about his work. I was shocked to find out that he was the CEO of his company. The Gordon Architectural Group was among the Fortune 500 companies in the States. I thought he was well off, but he was worth billions. Why didn't you tell me? I asked him. His face darkened then. You weren't supposed to be around long enough to know. Now that you do, what do you think? I smiled brilliantly at him. I want you home on weekends. I want Hope to have quality time with you. Is that all? Yes. I don't care about your money, Jason. I know that if I want something, I can have it. But for now, all I want is you, us. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'll never let you go. You're mine forever. Just like that, my fairy tale began. We drove back to New York later with Hope. Mrs. Gordon was beside herself. Mr. and Mrs. Primrose doted on her as if she were their grandchild too. At the New Year's party, Jason and I made our entrance. He in a black tuxedo that looked painted on, and me in a royal blue gown that complemented my curves and made me feel like the queen Jason keeps telling me I was. He introduced me to his board members who were polite, but clearly had questions. I had a little anxiety attack when I spotted Naomi and her husband. She looked happy and very pregnant. We exchanged pleasantries and Jason whisked me away to the dance floor. The highlight of the evening was when the clock struck 12. Jason kissed me deeply in front of everyone. Happy New Year, my love. Happy New Year, I murmured back. As we got back in the car, I looked back at the building with the Gordon name on it. 15 stories of black stone. He explained that this building was the headquarters of his empire. There were others around the country. I didn't know how to feel about that. On the drive back, it had started to snow again. I worried that the roads would be icy, but he drove expertly through the streets. I stared up at the house, and this time, I didn't feel anxious. The steps leading up to the front door looked shiny, and I wisely stepped gingerly. Jason's foot slipped. 1 minute he was standing, and the next flat on his back. I tried not to laugh. The look on his face was a mix of surprise and shock. I laughed. Oh, you think this is funny? I could have gotten seriously hurt, he said with mock anger. He stood up and we entered the house. I was still laughing until I wasn't. Jason had backed me against the door and thoroughly devastated my mouth. Jason, should I remind you that you are not alone in this house? Mrs. Gordon's voice said behind him. He cleared his throat and turned to face his mother. Mother, we were just... I know what you were just doing. I would advise you to do your frolicking in the privacy of your room. There was a small smile on her face. We finished taking our coats off and hung them up in the closet beside the door. Jason, however, was feeling decidedly silly. He hoisted me up onto his shoulders, caveman style, and climbed the stairs. I couldn't help my surprised yelp and looked up to see Mrs. Gordon behind us with a wide smile on her face. I waved at her when we reached the top of the stairs. Hope was sound asleep, and Jason and I had all night to love each other. As promised, we had our fairy tale wedding. My father walked me down the aisle, and our honeymoon was in the Greek island of Santorini. A year later, I gave birth to our son, Jason Franklin Gordon. Our life isn't always peaceful. We don't always see eye to eye. But one thing we do is protect our love. Nothing gets in the way of that. I look back now and realize that love is something that grows if nurtured right. As a gambler's daughter, I learned that the stakes are too high to leave up to chance. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe as it encourages me to bring you more stories like this.